Welcome to Healthy Aging with Gina, and I hope that I find you well, and I hope I find you ready to do your 10 minutes of Ageless Grace exercises. We've got 4 exercises this morning. They're going to be working on our hands, on our wrists, we're going to be working on our spine, we're going to be working on our hips, and we're going to be working on some nice stretches. So I hope that you are out of that sofa. You know the rules. No slouching, you've got to sit up straight, and you've got to have these knees over these feet. So if you're ready, I'm ready, and let's roll the music. Okay, we're going to take the hands out, and we're going to start first with just stretching up the wrist, up, and we're holding it up, and we're taking them both down. It's not fast to begin with. I'm sure you've heard of ADLS, which is Activities of Daily Living, and it's our hands, our wrist flexibility that is so important. Now we're going to alternate, one hand down and then the other. Okay, one hand, dip it. That's good. Always the rule, you do what you can. If that's too high for you, you can always bring it down. If it's easier on your shoulders, you can do that too. All right, we're going to turn the hands now and just turn it into a nice big circle. So we're just circling this wrist like we're taking it out. Out. Lovely. Feel a bit like a conductor. What about you? Let's take it the other way. Round we go. Nice. So as I said, all to do with hands and wrists. So let's just stretch out the wrist, and we're just going to hold, pull it back gently now. So you've got one arm straight, the hand is up, and you're just going to gently hold this. So you're stretching that wrist. Now take it down the other way. Drop it down that way. Just hold it this way. Shake it out. Let's do it with the other hand. Nice straight arm, wrist up, palm out. Hold it there. Ooh, can you feel that? Big stretch in your wrist, that. And down, let it flop down, pull it towards you. Keep his wrist nice and loose. Let's just wave them side to side. Wave them up, side to side. Great. Now we're just going to shake them. We're going to work on the fingers. I just want you to tap each finger, alternate with the thumb. Nice, simple flexibility. That's good. Keep it going. Just touch each finger with the thumb. All right, little fingers, wiggly fingers. Think of a little spider going up the wall. Heaven forbid it's 2 cockroaches. No one likes those. Little spiders, nothing too big. What about in front of us now? Flat, as if they're across a table. As long as they're going away and not coming towards us, that's all we care about. And we're going to take the hands out to the side. Out that way. Bring them back in. Take them out. Nice. Got to keep it moving, got to keep it moving. It's only 10 minutes. We'll rest these shoulders in a minute. We're going to stretch the spine out after this. Shake the hands again. Now we're just going to open and close as if you're reaching out, maybe grabbing a little mozzie. Here in Cape Town, autumn is definitely coming. It's definitely getting cooler. Shake, 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 shake. Lovely. Now the next exercise is going to be stretching out our spine. So I'm just going to open these legs a little bit, and I want you just to imagine that you're going to do this huge big sweep on a table. So it's a round flat table and you're just going round. So you're stretching out from your waist. Come, do this with me. This is not a passive viewing program where you're just sitting and watching. You're supposed to be viewing this bit. The next section's all about money, so you're going to want to stay and be awake for that. Right, stop at the top. Let's reverse direction. Nice. Oh, it feels good for the spine, this. Lovely. Oh. Doesn't have to be fast. All right, you've got to come back now. I want one foot in front of the other, and I want you to imagine you're reaching out across a table. Straight in front of you, arms straight, and then you're bringing these elbows back. Nice. We're just going to do one more with this leg forward. Always keep your feet pushed down into the floor, not wanting you flying out of your chair onto your nose. Other foot forward. Slide 4 more this way. Elbows back. Chin goes forward as well. Lovely. Last one of these. Nice. Now we're just going to have the hand on the knee, hand on the shoulder, and we're going to stretch across the body down towards the knee. We're going to do quickly 2 on this side, and then we're going to do 2 on the other. I always have to balance the body. Change it over. 1, 2. And we are going to be working now on these legs, all right? So I just want to have them feet up, up, up. And we're going to do a little kick out. So, kick. Have the hands going side to side. The more body parts we move, the more the heart is working. Give it some exercise. That's why we're going to do cardio sitting in our chair. People don't believe us, but it's true. Now we're just going to step 1 foot in and out. And I want one, well, 1 foot is stepping in and out. This one is just tapping. Good. Can we now change sides? Other foot out. Good. Out. And we go to the other heel, in and out, a little quicker. Good. In and out. Lost my coordination there. Heel, toe. That's what I'm trying to do. Heel, toe, heel, and a toe. Toe, heel, toe. Keep it going. This is all working lower body, hip, knees, ankles. Toe, toe. And march it. Whew. Amazing how just a few minutes of exercise, but we've got one last exercise. This is going to be doing some stretches, everybody. Very, very important. Keep ourselves limber. So we're going to have one hand on the waist, and we're going to put one arm up, and we're just going to stretch to the side. Hold that stretch. And we're going to change it and do it on the other side. Up and over. Very good. Now we're going to bring the arms up and we're going to hold them in a big wide stretch. Look up, up, up to the ceiling. You're going to bring these hands together. If you can, I want you to interlock the fingers if it's comfortable. Now if it's not comfortable, you can just hold the wrist like that. It's whatever works for you, whatever's comfortable for you. But if you can, ideally turn the fingers in. Inside out, push up. Hands down in front of your face. Nice big stretch, feel that all the way down your shoulders? Right, we're going to take the arms back now. Ooh, big stretch, angel wings I call this. I'm sure you're all angels. Right, we can take one arm forward. This is my Superwoman pose. Guys watching, you can be Superman. You're looking right over those fingers, stretching it out from the shoulder, change direction. Nice. And we're just going to roll these shoulders. Lovely. All right, we're just coming to the end shortly. What about having a little stretch with that knee? We're going to bring one leg up and we're going to go round. That's good. Take the foot the other way. Let's take the other leg up, wherever's comfortable. Got it? Round we go. Very good. Excellent. And there we are. 10 minutes of ageless grace. Grab yourself some water and come back and meet my special guest in just a moment. Welcome back to Healthy Aging with Gina, and I am delighted today to have the opportunity to be following on from last week's conversation. We started talking about money and some of the money problems, but on a more positive side today, that I have a very special guest. And my guest is the wonderful Lisa Hudson-Peacock. Now, she is the founder and the executive financial planner for Southwood Financial Planning. Lisa started the company 2001, so that's over 20 years experience, bringing even more years from previous asset management finance. So Lisa, welcome to Healthy Aging with Gina, welcome to Bricks TV, and thank you for coming and sharing some of your experience with financial planning with the viewers.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited. Thank you.
That's great. So Lisa, one of the nice ways for us to kind of get to know people who are on the show is for us to have a sense of what your goals were. When you started the company, what were you looking to be able to provide for people?
Absolutely. 2 decades ago, when I founded the business, really my biggest goal was to provide a professional, independent, niched, top-end financial planning service. Working in institutional asset management as I was at that point, I felt there was a huge amount of expertise and professionalism at the coalface.
Right.
And unfortunately, the ultimate interaction with the client related to those investments was very much product focused and not solution driven, which I felt there was a need to. There was a need to almost morph that professionalism that was at the coalface down to the ultimate client.
So you wanted to kind of bring it down in a more individual process, so that a more personal one.
Absolutely. I think personal advice is most important, and just an emphasis on the fact that in a professional financial planning business, your product is advice.
Right.
And not the sale of a product. And as more businesses are moving to fee-based planning, clients are learning that one can pay for really good, professional, independent advice.
So you get people who come to you, and obviously the baby boomers, this is one of the biggest, in fact we are the biggest generational group, the baby boomers, those of us who were born between 1946 and 1964.
Absolutely.
And I fall up at the top end of those years.
You wouldn't say.
You're very, very kind. But I mean, obviously this is a large part of our audience, is that those who are now somewhere between 57 and 75. And is that the kind of biggest age group that you have coming to you? Or what time do you find people come?
Our biggest niche at the moment is probably slightly younger than that, but just slightly younger than that, and tends to focus, interestingly enough at the moment, on entrepreneurs, as South Africa is quite an entrepreneurial society.
Right.
Entrepreneurs that are thinking about retirement.
Okay.
Thinking about the next phase, as I prefer to call it.
Yes.
And wondering how to answer the questions. What is enough, for example, what is enough, and how they exit out of their businesses and provide an income or provide for the lifestyle that they would like going forward, how they do that extraction. So we're calling it transitional planning, which is quite a large part of our business. But yes, we do also work in the closer to the retirement space, which, as you said, is your baby boomers from 57 to 74 odd.
But the reality is we need to prepare ourselves earlier than many people do.
Exactly.
I know we all hear about it. We should start saving the moment we start earning, but too many people don't.
Exactly.
And I know as a business owner myself, very often, because our business we see almost as our pension, we haven't worked for corporate, we don't have a corporate pension.
Yes.
It also brings two different sides, doesn't it, I think, into the space of...
It does provide challenges, and one of the greatest challenges is the fact that when one's growing a business, you're building up equity and wealth within that business.
Yes.
And you aren't forced to contribute to a pension fund, which is one of the offshoots of corporate life that is actually quite positive. The fact that you're having to contribute 12 to 18% of your salary.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult when you have to push that money yourself. It's that old age motto that says you need to pay yourself first, and part of that is savings.
Right.
But coming back to your point about people getting closer to the next phase and potentially realizing that they haven't planned enough, it's never too late. And when we do have clients coming to us who have spent their lives working on businesses, and possibly even once we plan for a they as advantageous an exit as possible, that there are still things one can do, and the sooner one is able to truly understand where one is financially vis-a-vis one's lifestyle goals and objectives, I think the better, because then you're able to make decisions that can impact positively,
Right.
And possibly bridge that gap.
I think you spoke about behaviour, behavioural
Coaching.
Behavioural
It's one of
coaching.
my-
That sounded fascinating. Can you tell me a bit
Absolutely.
more about that? So someone comes to you, and what is the kind of first things that you do with them when they want to?
It allows for behavioral coaching. Essentially, takes coaching principles, and really allows you to help the client gain a deeper understanding of what their values and beliefs and objectives are, and it really allows them allows one to ask the right questions, such that they can come to their own conclusion as to how to deal with a particular situation. And it really allows for a much deeper understanding of a client's values and what I like to refer to as money story.
Right.
And if one really understands that, one's likely to construct a plan that has so much more stickability. If it talks to a client's deep values and beliefs, they are much more likely to stick through the long term. And as I said, given our audience here today, it's not too late to try and find a certified financial planning professional that will follow a similar path with regards to constructing a financial plan for them.
I think that's great, because very often sometimes people think that they're getting old and maybe too old to be taking on a new project or to think that they're past it. But to actually be able to tap into realizing that they still have a passion and a purpose that they can monetize is an optimistic view that they can be doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And given the risks globally that retirees face today, which is, the risk of living longer, of having unforeseen events happen that necessitate access to capital. Any work with a financial planner will talk to all these risks and talk to a plan that you can put together, and so really allow you to meet those income requirements that will allow you to have enough, which in our world I feel is enough is living the lifestyle that you would like to lead. But sometimes people just need to be asked questions. It's sometimes the answer is often there and often within the client if the right questions are asked.
I mean, just in the conversation that I've had with you, it makes me realize that there are all sorts of things that I hadn't considered, so I'm quite sure other people haven't considered on this process. And I know even something as basic, when you showed me the budget that your company gets people to do, there are definitely gaps that people do not include on their budget. I mean, what do you cover and recommend for people with this?
Budgeting is the first point on the very first service level agreement that I put together 2 decades ago, and we've really broadened that to make sure that clients talk to 4 main groups of expenses.
Okay.
Which is, and I have it here.
Good. No, that's helpful.
They're non-discretionary expenses, which are expenses which you have to cover.
Right.
And they are either variable or fixed.
Right.
So an example of a fixed non-discretionary expense will be rent, will be education costs, will be your medical aid, will be life cover potentially.
A set figure every month.
A set figure every month. What should be included in there, which isn't always, is first of all provision for your emergency fund, which should in our mind cover 3 to 4 months worth of
that tends to be
expenses.
The standard that's recommended that people
at least
should
that.
have put aside.
Interestingly enough, I always used to say you need at least 3 or 4 months emergency expenses because life happens.
Right.
And then COVID happened.
Right.
And goodness, I'll never regard that statement in the same way again, because life certainly did happen to many people, and that emergency pot, if it was there, was very, very useful and necessary.
Did you find a lot of people were dipping into their pots from the people that you dealt with?
yes, absolutely. I think most, to a certain extent, there were the few sweet spots.
Right.
You know, if clients were in technology-related industries, there possibly
some
were some
without a doubt.
sweet spots. But for most, it was very important to have that emergency fund there. So even though yields and returns on money are that much less than they were in February 2020, we're still recommending ensuring that you have that amount of cash at hand for those emergency unforeseen expenses. Anyway, so those are your fixed
the budget ones,
non-discretionary.
Right.
Then there are your variable non-discretionary, which are things like your food is variable, but it's not at your option. You have to eat.
Right.
so they're those expenses. And then there are yes, eat less, which some of us girls like to do occasionally. And then there are your variable expenses, which is your entertainment, your fuel, you know, if one regards transport slightly differently, sports clubs, those discretionary expenses that you really can manage, depending on how much fun you want to have.
I suppose we were lucky that many companies actually did help people out. I mean, talking about sports, I mean, gyms stopped their membership fees, didn't they,
yes,
for the period?
Absolutely.
And I know some people were able to get, whether it was bond or car payments stopped for a couple of months. All of these things helped.
Yes, and we did facilitate stopping of premiums in many instances with life companies. They allowed for a holiday. And that applied across the board to most of the life companies. So that certainly helped clients when in the strict lockdown, when they weren't earning or potentially earning a proportion of their salary at that point. So it was great that product providers at that point came to the party to assist with that. And then the final, and for me the most important and often forgotten part of the budgeting exercise is provision for your annual expenses.
Right.
And those are potentially provisional tax, Christmas presents. You know, if one has a family, one will buy presents to a certain extent. I think things have changed and everyone does less of that, but one still wants to provide for it a bit. Holidays, that car maintenance that needs to be done, wheels for a motor vehicle. So annual expenses like that, birthday presents, which often results in that savings if one does it at the end of the month and not at the beginning. Those annual expenses that crop up often results in that savings not happen. So if one can build that into your monthly budget, it really, really is very useful.
I think that is the one element that an awful lot of people don't, and I know that I've been guilty of that in the past and working on changing it. And okay, my children may never get married, but one of the things I was thinking about is one ought to have a fund to be putting aside for your children's wedding, knowing how very generous my parents were.
Yeah. So in working with a professional planner, in having, we deep dive into short, medium and long-term goals.
Right.
And, you know, from a family perspective, that is a very important medium to long-term goal. And with goals like that in mind, one matches the goals with the solution. And in our instance, we often look at long-term tax-free savings accounts for goals and objectives like that. The challenge always is in planning is one has numerous goals.
Right. I think there's
that one needs to talk to all the time.
Absolutely.
And really it's important to structure that and structure one's working towards those goals. With your financial situation as it then stands. An example of that question, a common question of clients is, well, I think I should pay off my bond in its entirety before I start saving.
Right. So these are great questions, and there's been so much that we've started uncovering in our conversation today that I would love to have you come back for a second week. Can you do that and help fill in some more details
It
for the
would
viewers?
be an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Gina.
Well, I want to say thank you, Lisa Hudson-Peacock, for being with me today on Healthy Aging.
It's been exciting and lovely. Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. And I'm going to look forward to seeing everybody back next week for more of our 10 minutes of Age is Great exercises. And I'm delighted that we're going to be able to welcome back Lisa Hudson-Peacock to be telling us even more about how we can improve our financial planning.